Picture this. A construction worker goes missing at Kenya's new national stadium. 1 week later, his body is found floating in a water sump. His widow says he hadn't been paid in months. That's how Kenya is building its $1.1 billion football dream. This is a country whose own president once killed their chance to host the Africa Cup of Nations out of political spite. A nation that spent 40 years failing to build a single working stadium. Now they're attempting the impossible. Build a 60,000-seat stadium in just 22 months. One of Africa's most expensive venues ever, with a cutting-edge retractable roof system never seen before in East Africa, and a design inspired by Maasai warrior shields. Behind this project is a brutal 22-month deadline, real deaths on the construction site, and a financial scheme that's gambling workers' pension funds, with $750 million in interest alone stretching over 15 years. Can Kenya finally break its 40-year stadium curse? Or is this billion-dollar gamble about to become Africa's most expensive disaster? Stick around, because the truth is darker than you think. Kenya's stadium crisis is a 40-year nightmare of neglect, political incompetence, and shattered dreams that explains why this current project faces such intense skepticism. But before we dive into the construction disasters, here's the scandal that haunts every Kenyan football fan. In 1996, Kenya won the right to host the Africa Cup of Nations. Then President Daniel Arap Moi personally wrote to CAF saying Kenya is not ready, sabotaging his own country's tournament because the organizers were opposition politicians. CAF stripped Kenya of hosting rights, banned them from 2 tournaments, and gave Afcon to South Africa. A sitting president killed his nation's football dream out of political fear. Remember this, it explains everything about Kenya's stadium curse. The story begins in 1987 when China built Kenya the Kasarani Stadium as a gift to host the All-Africa Games. With 60,000 capacity and a flower petal design, it was one of Africa's most modern venues. But here's the problem. Kenya treated it like a political rally ground, not a sporting facility. Within years, the pitch was destroyed, seats were stolen by hooligans, and the infrastructure crumbled from zero maintenance. By 2010, the stadium was so dilapidated that China had to spend another $9 million to renovate it, just 23 years after they built it for free. The renovations took 2 years and reduced capacity to 48,000. Yet even after this rescue job, problems persisted. The drainage system failed regularly, and the seats kept breaking. Kenya's second major stadium, Nyayo Stadium, tells an even worse story. Built in 1983 with 30,000 capacity, it was meant to complement Kasarani. Instead, it became a symbol of abandonment. The facility hosted its last major international match in 2019, then sat unused for years. When Kenya needed it for the 2025 Chan tournament, inspectors found the structure so compromised they had to close entire sections. The real scandal? Kenya spent decades making empty promises about new stadiums while existing ones rotted. In 2015, the government announced 5 new international standard stadiums across the country. By 2023, not a single one was completed. The Kanoru Stadium in Meru, allocated $9 million in 2015, remains half-finished nearly a decade later, with uneven turf and missing facilities. And it gets worse. A 2024 parliamentary audit revealed Kenya doesn't actually own the land their national stadium sits on. Sports Kenya lacks proper ownership documents for the Moi International Sports Center, where Kasarani sits, a venue hosting matches since 1987. Meanwhile, Kenya spent $1.2 million on feasibility studies and architectural designs for 3 national stadiums that were never built. The consultants got paid, the stadiums never materialized. This pattern of failure haunted Kenyan football. Clubs like Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards were banned from hosting KF Champions League matches because Kenya had 0 KF-certified stadiums. The national team couldn't play home matches at home. They were forced to host games in Tanzania and Uganda. The breaking point came in 2023 when Kenya won the bid to co-host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations alongside Tanzania and Uganda. CAF's inspection teams arrived and delivered a brutal verdict. Kenya's infrastructure was so bad, they risked losing hosting rights entirely. Every stadium failed international standards. KF Secretary General Veron Mosengo Omba issued a warning. If this region doesn't deliver CHAN, then it will be very difficult to trust it to host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. Kenya was on probation. One more failure, and hosting rights get stripped for the third time in their history. The government needed a miracle. President William Ruto made a bold decision: stop renovating failures and build something completely new. But the timing was terrible. Kenya's economy was struggling. Public debt had hit 70% of GDP, and citizens were already furious about government spending. Building one of Africa's most expensive stadium during an economic crisis? It sounded like political suicide. Yet Ruto pushed forward. Plans for the Talanta Stadium began immediately, with Jamhuri grounds along Ngong Road chosen as the site. Kenya's first football-specific stadium in over 40 years, with 60,000 capacity and no athletics track. It was a bold, high-stakes move to finally break Kenya's cycle of broken promises. But what exactly would this revolutionary stadium look like? The Talanta Sports City isn't just a stadium, it's Kenya's declaration that it refuses to be Africa's infrastructure embarrassment anymore. At 60,000 capacity, it will instantly become Kenya's largest venue, but size is just the beginning. The design is deliberately African-forward, incorporating Maasai shield and spear motifs into a modern architectural language. The exterior facade features 8 shield patterns reimagined in contemporary materials, while the seats are arranged in the colors of the Kenyan flag, black, red, and green, creating an unmistakably national aesthetic visible from aerial broadcasts. What separates Talanta from every other Kenyan stadium is its football-first philosophy. Unlike Kasarani with its athletics track that distances fans from the action, Talanta eliminates the track entirely. Every seat offers intimate views of the pitch, creating a European-style atmosphere that Kenya has never experienced. The stands rise steeply in 3 tiers, maximizing both capacity and sightlines, similar to what you'd find at Anfield or Dortmund's Westfalenstadion. The roof system represents groundbreaking engineering for the region. The canopy uses hydraulically tensioned steel cables, the first of its kind in East Africa. This Teflon-coated structure provides complete coverage for all 60,000 spectators, while leaving the pitch open to natural elements. Lead architect Major Victor Kings explained that Kenya's mild climate removes the need for a retractable roof. There's simply no reason to spend hundreds of millions copying Wembley when Nairobi doesn't have Wembley's weather problems. Reports suggest the exterior could feature a media facade, essentially turning the stadium's outer wall into a giant LED display, similar to Bayern Munich's Allianz Arena. If implemented, Talanta would become one of the few stadiums in Africa with this technology, capable of displaying dynamic visuals and lighting effects during night matches. Inside, the stadium features 52 luxury skyboxes positioned for panoramic views. These suites offer climate control, private bars, flat-screen TVs, and dedicated staff, the kind of corporate hospitality that generates millions annually for clubs like Arsenal and Bayern Munich. The pitch technology matches European standards, a hybrid surface combining natural Bermuda grass with synthetic fibers, the same system used at Wembley and Real Madrid's Bernabeu. During concerts, protective covering shields the turf, ensuring the surface survives heavy non-sporting use without months of recovery time. Technology integration goes far beyond basic scoreboards. The stadium includes VAR booths, goal line technology, 7 changing rooms, broadcast facilities meeting FIFA and CAF standards, and perimeter LED advertising boards like those at Emirates Stadium. Accessibility has been built into the design from the ground up. 15 elevators ensure movement across all levels, while all entry plazas are ramped for barrier-free access. The Sports City concept extends far beyond the main bowl. The 45-hectare complex includes 3 training pitches, a 2,000-seat mini-stadium with an 8-lane World Athletics standard running track, and parking for 3,000 vehicles. Plans are also underway for a dedicated commuter rail link, addressing Nairobi's notorious traffic congestion. The vision is transformative, a venue capable of hosting finals, World Cup qualifiers, international rugby, and major concerts, all generating revenue 365 days a year. For a country that hasn't built a proper stadium since 1987, this represents a quantum leap in ambition. Kenya's stadium construction has been as turbulent as any political scandal in the country's history. Construction officially began on March 1, 2024, when President Ruto broke ground at Jamhuri Park. The deadline, February 2026. That's 22 months to build what took Tottenham over 4 years, and they were building on an existing football site with established infrastructure. Kenya is attempting this on contaminated land riddled with legal battles. The site presented immediate nightmares. Jamhuri Park previously housed recreational facilities, but underneath lay buried fuel storage tanks and contaminated soil requiring extensive remediation. Every surprise discovery triggered delays and costs the government refuses to disclose. China Road and Bridge Corporation deployed an army, 3,500 workers at peak capacity, operating day and night shifts. By November 2025, the project reached 68% completion. The exterior structure, signature Maasai shield facade, and hydraulic roof canopy are complete, but the final 32% will be the hardest and the most controversial. Then came the death that shook everything. In September 2025, 35-year-old worker Sammy Kayengo went missing. 1 week later, his body was found floating in a water sump behind the terraces, head injuries, blood oozing from his nose and mouth. His widow revealed he'd complained the company hadn't paid workers since July. Police launched a murder investigation. Construction halted. An autopsy confirmed fatal head injuries and drowning. A man died, and questions about worker safety remain unanswered. The government promised Talanta would host Jamhuri Day celebrations on December 12, 2025. That plan quietly collapsed. The stadium wasn't ready. Celebrations moved to Nyayo Stadium. But the event still featured Talanta drama. President Ruto announced the stadium would be renamed Raila Odinga International Stadium after the late former Prime Minister, who passed away in October 2025. A fitting tribute or political distraction, Kenyans remain divided. Parliament has entered the battlefield. The National Assembly's Committee on Sports and Culture grilled government officials over what they called a rushed and opaque financing plan. Committee Chair Dan Wanyama warned the model would burden taxpayers for more than 15 years. Meanwhile, infrastructure headaches multiply. Road expansion along Ngong Road is creating traffic nightmares. A $25 million flyover must be completed by July 2027, and some upgrades may impact Ngong Forest. The quality question haunts everything. Kenya knows stadiums built fast, but falling apart. Kinoru Stadium remains unfinished after 9 years. Kipchoge Keino has missed multiple deadlines. Money vanished into political pockets. Why should Talanta be different? The government says failure isn't an option. Losing Afcon hosting rights would humiliate Kenya internationally. Ruto has staked his political legacy on this. Contractors face massive penalties. Every party has incentive to deliver. But a worker is dead. Parliament is demanding answers. The timeline keeps slipping. Which brings us to the real scandal. Who's actually paying for all this? So here's the bottom line. Kenya is attempting something no African nation has done at this scale and speed, building a world-class stadium from scratch in under 2 years while their economy teeters on a debt crisis. The official price tag is $350 million. But here's where it gets controversial. MP Ndindi Nyoro claims the real cost will hit $1.1 billion, triple the announced figure. The government issued bonds through Lindsay Finco Trust with a 15-year repayment plan at 15.04% interest. That means $500 million in monthly payments stretched over 15 years. By the time the debt clears, Kenya will have paid $750 million in interest alone. Nyoro calls it the most expensive stadium in the world. The funding source is even more alarming. Reports suggest the National Social Security Fund, Kenya's pension system, was pressured to invest after private investors showed little interest. Workers' retirement savings gambling on a stadium. If revenues fall short, Kenyan pensions could vanish into concrete and steel. If Talanta succeeds, it transforms everything. Kenya finally escapes decades of neglect and broken promises. The stadium becomes a source of national pride, establishing Kenya as a serious player in African football. The pessimistic view, financial madness disguised as national pride. Kenya is spending $1.1 billion it doesn't have on a stadium its football culture cannot fill. Kasarani can't sell out 30,000 seats. What makes anyone think 60,000 will fare better? The government has never successfully managed stadium operations. Why would that suddenly change? Critics fear another white elephant, an expensive monument to political ego draining public resources for decades. Debt payments never stop, maintenance costs mount, and Kenya's pressing needs, healthcare, education, infrastructure, get sacrificed to service stadium loans. 15 years from now, Kenyans may wonder why their leaders chose a stadium over hospitals. The real test comes in 2027, if Talanta hosts sold-out AFCON matches, if facilities function flawlessly, if international media praise Kenya's transformation, every critic looks foolish. The stadium becomes a symbol of emergence. But if it sits half empty and technical problems plague the tournament, this becomes a cautionary tale about prestige projects during economic crisis. What's your take? Visionary investment or financial time bomb? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this deep dive valuable, hit like and subscribe for more football stories.